Double kill for the Jinx. Order cannot be stopped. This is just absolute destruction right now. And all of a sudden, Mimic comes to the party. He does get a massive stun, and that turns it right around. You've just got to give an absolute standing ovation to the heirs apparent of the OPL.
Welcome to the League of Legends OPL Grand Final!
4 splits, 4 titles. They cement their legacy as the OPL Kings.
Hello and welcome to day 2, week 1 of split 2 of the 2019 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson, your favorite league personality, and I am joined by number 2 and number 3.
Who's number 2 and number 3?
Fight. Let's figure it out. We'll put a poll out.
Who would win in a fight?
Like an actual fight?
Yeah, me or Jake.
It's taken us 10 seconds to get to this.
I feel like Jake is just so small that I could do that thing where I can hold his head and he'll just be like swinging at me.
Except I feel like Jake is one of those people where it's like the competitive side would just not let... He will do what... Like, he would rip off his own arm to use to extend his reach to get to you. Like, yeah.
So he's just a freak, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think
All right.
that
I can get behind
I'm not getting involved in this conversation.
Sure.
I'm above it.
we'll see what happens after the broadcast. Maybe that's what will happen. Welcome, everyone, to another evening of League of Legends action. It's exciting to be back for the split. It's exciting to be back for day 2.
Yeah.
Have we got the bugs out of the system?
I feel so well rested.
Yeah, because you were a little, like, touch and go yesterday.
So Bryce,
I'm just saying.
after
Viewers
work,
noticed.
Bryce after work, we went out just, for a meal and a couple of
catch-up.
beers.
Juice.
Yeah, juice.
A juice.
Bryce was nodding off at the table.
Fell asleep on my bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I got the corner seat and I'm just like...
we stayed in the same room, and then Bryce's head hit the pillow and just gone.
Yeah.
Unconscious.
There you go. But now you feel good.
Yeah. I like a solid 10 to 11 hours
11
sleep.
hours sleep.
Sick.
It's an important thing. You got to take care of yourself, everybody. Remember that. I'm excited to be back for another evening. Of course, we have some needs from you, and one of those needs... let's get to the schedule first. You know what? I'll just follow
We
the
don't need
graphics
you
guy.
guys.
We don't need you at all. Ignore what I said. Today's schedule. First up, we got Gravitas versus Mammoth. Then Legacy take on Order. Bombers go head-to-head with Avant Gaming. And finally, Chiefs and the Direwolves will round out the day. These are all interesting games.
I'm really interested in the last one, to be perfectly honest, because I think that Direwolves yesterday had like a rough early game and some, shady 2v2s going down in bottom lane, but then were able to bring it back together and pull off an impressive win. And I think the Chiefs would, once again, I always say this about the Chiefs, but when they lose games, they kind of just hit the next opponent real hard.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting just real basic 5v5 team fight, just smack someone around for 20 minutes and take the win. And I think that that's going to be a great test for the new look Direwolves for us as commentators to say the relative strength of this team.
Yeah, because it's actually super funny that you notice that as your favorite game. Going into it, you expect Chiefs to just come out and just slap the Direwolves around. That's that could be a bloodbath to end the day.
It could be. It would be a nice prelude to that fight where Jake rips off his owner. Throughout the evening, we have League of Legends, but we also have the Nick Bag is making its triumphant return, so we need your questions. It's Bryce's favorite segment.
Yeah. Love a Nick Bag.
You're very good at this one as well. We need your questions, so send them in to asknickboy@gmail.com. You can also send them on Twitter. Go to the OPL Twitter page and you'll see things that you can respond to. You can go to my Twitter page, respond to those. Just get your questions to us however you want. We will answer them. And the less about League, the better, frankly. I think that the more it's about really personal, intimate life shit, I'm on board.
I 100% agree. As soon as we got to Nick Plays League yesterday, you know what I mean? As soon as it's not about League, Nick can do it.
Yeah, because you will see more
I would
Nick
prefer
Plays League.
OPL questions. I'm just going to throw it out there.
You're such a downer. You're such a company man. We do have Nick Plays League as well, which is the new sort of cool off segment at the end of a broadcast where we just all hang out. We play some ARAMs. Yesterday, I think, was a triumph. 2 for 2 wins.
Yeah,
I am just that Bard portal
That
to
Bard
dodge
portal
the
was pretty
Ori
amazing.
shockwave. That is genuine highlight of my. I'm no longer a pro, but that is the highlight of my pro career. I've now extended it 2 years, and that is my peak.
I loved that you were like, I'm gonna do this portal thing, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's crazy," and I was like, "What?" And you were like, "Follow me, Nick." I was like, "I don't know what's happening." It was a fun time. So come hang out. You
Yeah.
could potentially queue
Snipe us.
snipers and
That is-
try to actually get a game.
That's what I want. I
Yeah.
want to. I'm going to get in chat like as it's going on
Do it.
because there's obviously I think like the tiniest delay on the broadcast that you can't be helped.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there. But I'll be in chat telling you exactly when to queue up to get 4 friends.
Yep.
And shit on this guy.
Please. That's what these guys do. I have 4 friends. This is all they do to me. You can do it in person as well, because we've got the MEO Grand Final at the end of this split. You can head to Melbourne. You can head to the Melbourne Esports Open. And you can head to melbourneesportsopen.com.au/tickets to pick up your tickets, reserve your seats, come to, I would say, the event of the decade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I would say in maybe the greatest city in the world, Nick, if I was going to
Would
just
you
have
say
my
that?
2 cents at the
very
end
surprising.
of this, I would say, home of some of the best esports team in the world. And just
The world.
overall, just, great food, great sightseeing, great river that goes through everything.
Terrible people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually going there.
Yeah, good,
You
good.
snaked it.
The problem is, we have to continue talking about the Melbourne Esports Open in order to, create awareness that we're going there, which means that he is going to
Yeah.
have this the entire split multiple times a
absolutely.
night.
Normally in these situations, you're like, he always gets the opportunity. You want to
win-win.
like shy away. Like
Yeah.
he's obviously just being incredibly obnoxious, but we're obligated.
It's a win-win for me, right? Because what happens is either we sell this thing out really, really quick, and then you never have to talk about it again. Then I don't get to shill, but then I get to brag about how quickly I sold out
That's
Melbourne.
true. That's
or it just takes all split, and then I just hit here and talk about it. So really, save yourself the hassle. Just buy the damn tickets.
buy the damn
and then we'll
tickets.
stop doing this.
That's right. And in order to get to the Esports Open, we need to first play all the games of League of Legends.
Arguable.
Yeah, right.
Just send us there.
Just come to Melbourne. The first game, Gravitas versus Mammoth.
Yep.
How are we feeling?
Interesting one. I feel like Gravitas had a fairly rough showing yesterday, and that's probably a gentle way to put it. They
Probably
lost
the
to an AV.
roughest game of the night.
Yeah, well, they were versus a not full strength AV
Yeah,
lineup. It looked like there were like a few moments. I feel like Raid at certain points of the game looked like there could be potential for they would be able to pull out this victory, but kind of elsewhere all over the map. They lost to a roster with literally 2 subs, like an off roll and a genuine substitute coming in. The sub though, Isles did play very well.
Played great.
But Gravitas didn't look all that crash hot.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, right, Mammoth kind of were bullied for a lot of their game against the Chiefs. Went down 3 inhibitors, were able to claw their way back in. We saw Fudge actually learn how to play on stage in front of our eyes, which was such a joy. He had some great team fights towards the end of it. And I just want to see Mammoth continue to level up. I mean, it's going to be a scary thing if they are able to find, I think, their true form throughout this season because they are such an impressive lineup.
Yeah.
But they certainly still have ways to go because that was more the Chiefs gifting them a victory yesterday than Mammoth really going out there and, seizing it for themselves. Most games where you go 3 inhibitors down, you lose a game of League of Legends.
Throws have to
so,
be caught. They
yeah.
caught it, but the throw definitely existed.
Exactly. So I feel like they're going to want to have a dominant game today. So really excited to see what they can do.
Absolutely. Well, there's no sense dragging it out any longer. Let's get into game number 1 with your casters, Skimmy and Rusty.
That's right indeed. Day number 2 for the very first opening week of Split 2 for the OPL. Gravitas keen for that W after the performance of yesterday. Keen to try and showcase what this roster that has been locked in place can achieve. Whereas Mammoth, maybe some growing pains, but at the same time, definitely some highlights that would really showcase what this potential is.
Am I muted? I'm back. Hello. I think it's fair to say that Mammoth shouldn't have growing pains. They should be able to have momentum or at least cohesion as a team from the from the first split into the second. So it is weird that again you start to see those what feels like growing pains, but adding Fudge to the roster does actually mean a big deal for that. However, when you look at the draft today, it is Topoon starting, not Fudge. So this is the Mammoth roster from Split 1. And so perhaps those growing pains won't be a factor. They'll start at their strongest possible form up against Gravitas, who, I can't speak towards their mental. They seemed like a very chipper bunch when we were just seeing them before the games today, but it was a rough loss.
Stability versus stability here as we have Core 5 up against one another. Similar bands from what we saw yesterday, especially with the likes of Silas and, you see Sona coming out every so often. But in the Kali ban, Kali found a bit of love yesterday. Did pick up some dominant performances, but to see her being prioritized is interesting.
And Triple was one of the Akali players yesterday, so he actually had a fantastic performance individually on the champion. Of course, it gets very difficult to team fight when you're in a losing game as Akali trying to be that assassin. But still, Triple, one of those players who went to Korea, did incredibly well on the ladder, got up super high in the ratings, and has clearly displayed that ability to play League of Legends again, now back in Oceania, which is super important for him.
Much the same, and Gravitas going to open up their campaign here with a Sejuani, opting for the Skarner last night. Skarner did some fantastic points, but I think as the game progressed on, became much, much squishier, became an easy target for the likes of a Nautilus, speak to mind,
Which
being picked
is
in.
very curious if they lock that in, because it could very easily be the Yuumi, which hasn't been touched. Now, if you think back to yesterday's games,
Yeah.
Gravitas against AV, very similar draft. The Sejuani first picked by AV on the blue side. Now
Yeah.
it's Gravitas doing that. Mammoth, who were Gravitas, then responded with the Yuumi.
They
but
did.
they've gone for the Nautilus this time, and I've said this before yesterday, but this is one of the picks, one of the few picks that exist that you could play into the Yuumi and be relatively comfortable with. So clearly Destiny, you know, a fan of the engaged champions, immediately goes towards that round.
Yeah, definitely does want to stick to the poke style of gameplay. We've seen the likes of Yuumi and Ezreal, and Yuumi and Sivir as well. So they want to have some means of poking from afar, but in this case here, that is not going to be the case. We're going to stick to the Nico, stick to the oppressive style of gameplay, as many have coined it.
Nico, of course, still being a flex, so just a valuable champion to look for in the first three, usually bottom lane and flex picks. Gravitas, of course, deviating from that norm again, but we'll see where they go with their third option. You would expect a bottom laner, and from the looks of it, now with that Braum secured, there just will be no Yuumi.
Yumi's is going to completely fall flat on this draft. Don't think we're going to see any creative shenanigans with a support flexing into middle top just yet, given the nature of the character. Definitely needs an ally to hop herself onto. But Kaiser Braum is going to be the bottom lane for Gravitas here. Not going to see the Zarya like we've seen in previous games that had so much of an impact. Opting for the shields, the protection, the ability to try and shut down Destiny, and his, I suppose, keenness to engage.
I could finally hear again. I had the wrong headset on. I was a big numpty. It's
Welcome.
all good.
Welcome.
We're back. We're ready. I can finally hear. We're through the third picks. And Sivir Nautilus once again for Mammoth in the bottom lane. Something, again, that they played yesterday, so clearly comfort for them. They rate the champions quite highly, and I do not blame them, as they played pretty well once they got out of the rough mid-game, actually got to the late-game team fighting. But a lot of pressure was put down towards them when they played against the Chiefs. So we'll see how they go against Gravitas. A little bit slower, perhaps, in terms of style.
Yes, we're getting banned here. Mammoth maybe rubbing salt into the wounds based on the fact that Avant took a win with a Yasuo in the bottom lane, comparing that with, or combining, I should really say, with the Cassiopeia. So removing that one. Camille denied as well, so no mobility, stun, skill shots, or the ability to try and isolate a key target.
So specifically towards the Yasuo point, Hayri is a very prolific Yasuo player, and Sejuani being a first pick, very similar again like we said yesterday. Sejuani, Yasuo being a melee combo is one of the biggest combos that you can possibly have. With Aurelia already taken off the board, Silas not available, it was the last one really left. So it's a really good ban from Mammoth to deny that strong 2v2 combo that can pretty much 2v2 any other combo that is on the Rift.
Jace comes in, and Fiora comes in as well. Gravitas themselves actually banning away what was an insta-lock from Pabu yesterday. Didn't have the funnest of times on that champion, to say the least. Maybe this team have actually banned it away from him. What are your thoughts on that there, Rusty?
I mean, things get bad very quickly when you're behind as the Fiora against the Camille matchup, which is the other ban here. Usually what this indicates, of course, is that Topoon might be wanting to play a carry into the pick that they're looking here for Pabu. And you would expect, of course, Topoon to have the counter pick here, as you can tell right now with the Trundle being locked in into the Sejuani. So Pabu, knowing he has to blind pick a champion, is trying very hard to avoid the very few champions that can hard counter him. So I am very curious to see what it will actually be, and if it's like a Scion, you know, like a full tank champion that goes in the top lane, and they just got rid of the best carries to deal with that.
We want assassins,
All
we
this.
want explosiveness. The quickest game we had yesterday was 33 minutes, the longest being 39. Jake on the analysis desk telling us that we're going to have 24-minute games where Baron gets picked up, inhibs are down, the core ends. I like it. Pyke can still flex, mid, top. I'm not going to see it as a support with Bard being locked in, but does give them some options.
I wish it was Bard, but yeah, it should be top lane. Pabu is one of the few players who very quickly and very early actually took to the Pyke top lane, like months before it was actually a thing. So no surprises to see that once they started picking it up at MSI, G2 being there as well, Pabu leapt at the opportunity and continued to start to bring that one back himself. And so that's what you get to see here from Gravitas on their blue side of the Rift. The pick champion, very good champion, and the bans that you see now make a little bit more sense.
They do indeed. They do indeed. A lot of explosive damage here. Reset potential seems to be the most obvious style that I'm seeing here from Gravitas. The ability to set things up between the two icy champions of Braum and the Sejuani, and then clap on top with the disengage of the Pyke and the LeBlanc. But the Morgana is that final pick.
Yeah.
I like it. Does offer them a lot of control with the Black Shield to try and mitigate a lot of that burst.
Yeah, Morgana's always been seen, you know, since the first MSI, like 2015, as one of the counters to LeBlanc. So no surprises here. Mammoth, they get the last pick. It was potentially for top lane, but they're able to flex that Nico anyway, so it's mid. And they get the Morgana into the LeBlanc matchup. They have really good push in the bottom lane as well. They have good control in the mid lane. This may well be one of those games that starts off with Babip just going into the Sejuani side of the map and just making it a living hell for Praelis and starting to snowball the map out through those advantages that they can etch out. So that's always a place that you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled with Mammoth's draft. A potential for a lot of priority around the Rift early.
Very much so. Very much so indeed. A top lane Pyke. Well, if you saw it at MSI, you'll know how scary that can be. So looking to see that have some roaming potential, the ability to try and force fights out, much the same as we've seen Destiny be very prolific in his need to seek out action in the mid lane whenever he sees the opportunity arise.
And this does feel a little bit different for someone like Babip, who was historically known as that Nidalee guy, you know, loves to hard farm in the jungle, but now he's gone towards more of the jungle 1v1 type of matchup where you want to get those leads early. So here's the player I'm going to be looking at, like mentioned before. When we shift our attention over towards the Gravitas side, there's a lot of outplay. I think it's fair to say that, you know, in terms of execution, it is so much easier to be Mammoth than it is to be Gravitas. Pyke needs to hit the death from below. Hayri needs to, of course, hit those skill shots, especially early, before she becomes a really stupid champion and can just press QR and you die. The Sejuani is one thing that does make it a little bit easier. Sejuani and Braum being able to guarantee stuns. I would say the front line of Gravitas is fantastic in terms of how they combo together. It's the rest of the map that you really have to keep your eyes peeled towards and how they want to play this one out.
Yeah, I'm liking how Mammoth set things up so far. 5 members in the bush, looking to deny any potential invade for that red buff. Yesterday was a bit of an interesting situation. We had only one time when all members were clumped up to try and force out a team fight. Otherwise, it was day one nerves, is what I'm going to call that. Day one nerves of playing the defense, spreading yourself thin across the map, and scanning out information.
Yeah, I think Auto was the only team that really just sprinted into the enemy jungle and tried to do anything crazy. They had a super strong level 1 for it. Now Mammoth, however, clearly reading that this is potentially possible.
It is indeed. The hook does land, the damage does follow up, and Praelis is going to be a casualty. The ward is good, but it gets taken out, much like his own life bar. Minute 30 in.
Mammoth
on the board.
hard read this play so early that they waited at the red buff. They were fully prepared for Praelis, it seems, or anyone to come in. They wanted the level 1. You know, Nico, Morgana, and Nautilus is insane. Sivir's damage on Q is also nuts. So you hit one person, they die. And they're able to find that pick. And, you know, you don't often expect the bottom lane to be sitting at the Raptor bush at 1 minute and 15 seconds. That is so late. Like, you may miss minions in bot lane if you don't sprint down there straight away. But they get it to work. They don't miss the experience. And now Babip, he's top.
He is indeed. He puts down the trophy. He gets a flash. And with that, he's quite happy with his work.
And should go to the enemy blue buff if he wanted to straight afterwards as well. So the question is, who can come and deal with him if he goes to the blue buff? And unfortunately, LeBlanc does have a little bit too much priority very early into the piece here with the wave pushed in. So it looks like he's going to go towards the Raptors first, even though it will be on vision to get that farm and to clear this side of the map.
Did mention that Babip would be able to make Praelis' life a living hell, and no better than stating that a minute into the game. Be interesting to see how he does continue this path, and if he does decide to go behind enemy lines to keep Praelis' Sejuani in check.
Probably very clearly having a good time in this matchup. Nico against Pyke, and of course I am joking when I say that. It's a very difficult matchup to play in. You have to be able to use your passive effectively as the Pyke to try and stay as healthy as possible. So being able to utilize the bush like you're seeing right there is a big deal, and Topoon knows it.
A ward will disrupt that, however. It's interesting, right? All that free healing making Pyke so damn strong, but Nico is just so oppressive. The ability to jump into bushes, the ability to poke from afar, with the augment runes as well. It becomes a living nightmare as bot lane. A skirmish does break out with Mammoth taking the clear trade advantage.
And you'd say a good opportunity here if you were Babip to try and get the blue buff clear to bot scuttle, maybe even look at the enemy Krugs if he wanted to go down there, because bot has so much pressure that they're able to make that one happen as he chooses. Of course, Praelis, knowing full well that nothing's really happening on the bottom side of the map unless he wants to counter, looks towards the scuttle, and Topoon says, "What are you doing, mate?" and tries to get him away from it, but, it's inevitable. He has a wave to attend.
Does indeed. He is on vision right now. Babip is keeping up that lane pressure as he roams around the map, deep behind enemy lines with a double buff and clearing out those wards. He's looking to try and rotate through to mid, whilst Prayless is looking to try and catch this Tapoon in an overextended position.
Prayless definitely in position to make something happen here.
A dash on forwards.
Ah, really good. Well done from Tapoon. Jukes them out with the clone, is just able to walk safely. That's brilliant coming out of the top laner of Mammoth, but 90-degree juke, maybe they could have seen it coming.
Might not be done just yet. He's keeping them interested right now. The stun does connect. Babip is there waiting in the wings should they decide to continue.
It'll just dissipate. Of course, nothing actually taken from the bottom side jungle. The Krugs weren't touched by Babip, though he could have looked towards them if he chose. He immediately goes towards the top side of the map, so tracking the Sejuani seems to be a higher priority than getting the farm lead. And, you know, one other thing that I just noticed while we were looking at the middle lane is the Dematerializer was started here by Triple, which to me indicates that he wants to put less points in his W and more points into the binding, because he's using it on the ranged minions to, I would say, clear them more effectively. And I would expect only 3 points into the W as his standard, but depending on how many Dematerializers he put on the ranged minions, it could only be 2. Which means Q damage hurts.
He wants a kill potential, just like up here in the top lane for Mammoth. Tapoon jumps in, but he's going low. He's going very, very
He's
low.
dead.
He may just die to minions as a result. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Does not look too happy with that one, but for Pabu, feels good.
It's a big force from Tapoon. He didn't necessarily have to go for that, you know? He could have just forced the teleport out of Pabu, called it a day, but he wants the kill and ends up trading his life for that. Both, of course, having teleport, but when you look towards the purchase of Tapoon with 2 kills, it's pretty big, as bot lane's going at it.
But they are indeed. Silver popping that spell shield, making sure that she is not going to get locked in place there by Decoy. But Destiny is there. He is in protection. And he is always looking to utilize that hook when it can come about, but he needs to be a little bit careful as Prayless is on the hunt, using the Seeker to scout out. Not going to find any wards just yet, though.
And honestly, for a 3-kill game at 6 minutes, it has felt like a mostly passive start. One of the kills was super early. All of the action is just on top side.
Yeah.
And you know, for the bottom lane that you saw from Mammoth to have potential for a lot of push, they haven't really forced any advantages. There's Pabu, he's got him.
He's got him indeed. The hook, the clone, the juke to run away, but a big chunk does go down, just over half health, as he's forced to pop a pop. Might not be done just yet, though. As a result, Nico's going to go up in the air, jumping around, putting some damage out. The execute connects! A second auto would have done it, but Pabba will find that, well, I've used teleport, Tapoon hasn't, but I will be able to regen here.
That's pretty comprehensive lane control, though, and will most likely force the teleport out of Tapoon, even though the ultimate isn't available to execute. If he doesn't have control of his lane at all, you know, no vision, then it's not very safe. And Prayless, he is stalking the area. Tribush is warded, but he has got the blast cone. Whereas Barbip, he's on the other side of the map looking for the red, so it may just be a red trade.
Looking to be that way so far. There is a pink for Mammoth in the top lane try. Every single time Pabu gets a chance to go in there, he is looking for that stun, he is looking for that damage. And it's only going to get worse once that lethality build starts to come into play with Tiamat online so far. Pushing potential is soon to be matched. He goes for the flash hook, and Prayless jumps in about as well, saying, I don't have 6, but I can do things like this, but bottom lane carries on. Triple starts it off, taking out Decoy, and they're going to go for a double right there under the tower. Mammoth flooding up this map red. They find blood. They're going to go for some plating.
And they are able to push the turret straight away because it was a dive under the turret with 4 people there. They could have continued to push if they wanted, kept Trundle in the area, but you'll take the plating and you'll reset and look at all of the minions that are just being missed by Gravitas in that bottom lane. Teleports come in, Barbip already in the area. You expect the cross-map play, and you know, Sejuani being top just basically gives them permission, and they find the kills that they're after very, very easily.
Beautifully microed under that tower to juggle the aggro to get the damage done and to prevent anybody from falling down into casualty, as we saw beforehand when Tapoon got a little bit too over-eager to try and force the agenda. But speaking of, he has used his teleport to get back to lane. He has equaled out what was a CS deficit for the most part. And the action, once again, has rhythm and valleys. Up and down we go.
And you have to look towards the objectives. You know, what is it that they're fighting for? At this stage, it was Gravitas looking for the kill. They were just really hunting with an early trade that Pabu was able to get onto Tapoon. They hit that one home. But Mammoth on the opposite side of the map were hunting for a tower dive in immediate response and with no hesitation. So really right now the objectives aren't the play. It's just the kills and trying to get as much gold as you can, especially while turret plates exist. You know, the more turrets you can crash waves into and threaten kills, the more gold you get and the better you start to feel past the 14-minute mark.
Especially sub 14, that's definitely what they have been looking for. Pabu once again getting the better of the trade and feeling quite comfortable in this lane, as he does also have a pink in the River Brush. Scout out any potential roaming gank there from Babip, but we'll have the mobility.
Just
Making
has
it quite hard.
constant control as well. You know, he's gone for the boots too, so he's going to be able to disappear once the wave is pushed in. And it's one of those moments where when you get the kill and he buys a Tiamat for your trade, Topu may be like, oh god, did I give him the exact amount of gold needed for that? Because that really has influenced the state of that lane.
Be interested to see down that destruction talent tree what he's actually gone for in terms of if he's gone for the extra movement speed in River after takedowns, if he's going to go for the extra damage to sort of scout out how he wants to play. Rushing or boots too would suggest the first, but we'll have to wait and see. As now we're going to get a glimpse into the very first Drake. It's going to be a mountain one at that, so looking to, whilst you're under that 14-minute mark, still look for more sieging potential.
Yeah, they've set up the triangle of vision there in the river. 4 control wards actually. This Pike was looking mid but doesn't have the flash, so there's no way to hit that one home. If the hook was available, perhaps the execute was there, but nevertheless there is no control in the bottom side river here for Gravitas. 4 control wards should be in the dragon. Is an inevitable fate here. End of the day, Gravitas are the ones that need to force the trade, and they are trying to right now. But Babip's... Sorry, it's not Babip. The minimap trolled me. It's Topoon is going to check, and they're going to see that it's been started.
Eyes are off the Drake. Rotations are there. Bot lane is still all locked in place. Now note that there is, I should say, rather, a teleport available for Raid, but not for King, so...
Mammoth are going to look for the fight, you would imagine, here.
Kaiser is staying bot lane for the meantime. Can afford to, based on that point mentioned before. Can get some free soak, some free XP. Needs it, based on how far she is behind the 15 deficit. We are getting closer, however. But the Rift Herald has had enough. No more dancing. It's back to the pit.
We're sick of your funny business. Dragon is, again, still free if Mammoth choose to go towards that. Gravitas are the ones who assumed Dragon was being done and attempted to trade. So nothing big being achieved really from either team, just Mammoth stopping what their opponents were trying to get done. Trying to make sure that there is no trade. And this is something that I mentioned yesterday and I still think will always be true, is if you're ahead, you don't want to trade. And I think the current state of the map is, like, if you're in a gold advantage pre-14 minutes, you don't want to trade Herald. It's Top's ulted.
Top has ultimate indeed. Pabu is getting aggressive. Raid is there to follow things up. Does actually use the ultimate to jump in. Gets the shield to match the Pabu special.
Well, they've flipped the map here, so Raid and Deco will now be on the top side of the map again, trying to get the trade across, but they haven't started the Herald. Dragon is already gone. And now Mammoth, they will just be able to run up to the area. They'll get here in time if they choose to fight. King no teleport though, so it will be a 4v5 as he wants to go for the bottom turret.
Yeah, preferring to go for some structures, trying to open up the map, trying to open up those side lanes most notably. Both ADs having the same idea in mind with Raid in the top lane, but Mammoth for roaming. They're coming on down, and Pabu's got to be careful right now.
That was close. The auto attack got cancelled by Destiny from the dash away by Pabu on that Pike. It could have been a kill. That could have actually been a second turret threatened. But this is the thing that I feel like Mammoth should have contested that Rift Herald if possible. But King unfortunately wasn't in the area. So now much more turret plates, 320 gold plus another 160, and the turret goes over to just Raid solo, compliments of the Herald that they picked up. And that's just a big spike of gold that I don't necessarily think they should be freely giving over to their opponents when they're in that advantageous position. But nevertheless, their lead has continued to grow, Mammoth. You can't fault them for it.
Definitely cannot. Tower picked up. Mid lane though, I'm still looking at a Morgana with a GLP completed over that of components for either Magi's or a GLP as well. Waiting for LeBlanc to go back, and that is what she has in mind. So we're going to see a power spike, but it is going to be the Ludens. A nice little window of execution, as you alluded to before. The ability just to press Q and R and hands off keyboard.
Always fun, isn't it? being outplayed by things that cannot be dodged. Pabu also gone towards lethality finally in his build after the Tiamat, something that's actually twice as valuable for a champion like Pyke, giving that extra move speed when you use W. By having lethality is actually a pretty significant amount of movement speed once you have more than one lethality item as well. Compensates quite nicely for his lane choice of going for the Mercury Treads, opposed to, you know, what I would do as a support player and having boots and mobility.
Destiny is on the hunt. He's in the top lane. He's got to be careful, though. There are multiple members of Gravitas in support. We're looking at what is going to be a 3v3 situation with Mammoth wanting to push the agenda based on the fact that they lost the tower before. And there's a tower still remaining, but Vision will keep them in check. And Kaiser will spot things out.
And it really feels like Gravitas are using Vision to set up places where they want to fight. You know, if you want to go for these control wards, Mammoth, we are going to contest you at them, and Mammoth do not take any kind of bait here. They don't take the aggressive decision, and they don't even choose to take the big fights. They feel equally matched with their opponents right now, and you would imagine they are when it comes to items. And so they're going to play cautiously. They're going to play the map a little bit more than they are the champions. And we'll see what that results with. Because right now there's no Herald, there's no Drag, and there is outer turrets aplenty, but that really is it. Nice shot. Also, I lied, he went 5 points in W.
I was just going to mention that, yeah, 5 points into the soil.
At a certain point, if I'm going to go 5 points in W, I would never use a dematerialize on a ranged minion to amplify my damage to it. I would use it on the melees or the cannons.
Maybe just don't want to auto-attack the cannons to death. Did you consider that?
Just felt like auto-attack cannons is Morgana.
Here's something. Prayerless on the hunt, looking to try and use that Glacial Prison if it could have found any value. But King, obviously, you got to bear in mind, does have the shield available. Make that an immune nightmare. I suppose this top lane that has now swapped down to bottom has become a little bit calmer as a result. We haven't seen the, well, sub 5 minutes at least, shenanigans of what was Pabu winning the lane, Pabu bullying the lane, and Tapoon sort of trying to say, I need to make something happen, even if it costs me my own life. But hold that fort for 1 second, because Destiny's found one. And Destiny has claimed it with the help of Triple, looking to try and stem down what LeBlanc can achieve.
Yeah, a big step in the direction of the pick potential that Mammoth have as they once again are hunting.
They really are, as they find Decoy. Flash is having to be used. He jumps away, he knocks them up, and Tapoon jumps in. It gets the stopwatch as well, but only buying some time for the rest of the team to get clapped onto as well. Pyke does find one. Tapoon jumps up into the air. Can Pyke find these resets? Remember, he is not untouchable whilst he's in that air, and the GLPs are coming across. It's a rainy storm. Let it go, let it go. I am not singing for you right now on the OPL, but I will tell you, Mammoth are feeling quite content with how that all worked out.
Oh, Pabu.
Might not be done just yet, however, and Pabu jumps in. A bit aggressive right there. Does fall on down with the shutdown goal, but LeBlanc does pick up a nice little pick to try and make it a brace.
Yeah, the teleport from Hayri is a pretty big deal there to equalize just a little bit, but the turret falls, everybody dies, and remember, Hayri died at the start of this in the first place, so such a big advantage forged here from Mammoth as the end result of this trade. And you have to keep your eyes peeled on Pabu as this dive happens. He finds the first reset, and then unfortunately, the second one gets dodged by Mammoth, and that actually is the difference maker here. When you team fight against the Pyke, you have to be able to dodge his ult, prevent the resets, and that could have been a team wipe. You know, if he was able to get that second one. King's in execute territory. Tapoon ends up there as well, and unfortunately for Pabu afterwards, when he doesn't have the resets, he just has a little bit of a cheeky in here in an attempt to get a trade back. There's just too much crowd control to lock you down one after the other. And also, 2 GLP users, I might add, with the Morgana and the Nico. Very annoying.
It just makes it so annoying. Once you're in, you're in. Like, there is no chance of you disengaging. Speaking of, more frozen prowess does come about. Pabu looking for the glory hook, but will not find it this time.
Not this time, though it was still a flash by Babip, so big summoner spell having to be taken away. Cloud Dragon is not being done, however. They're just going to take the flash and they're going to leave it, maybe come back in a couple minutes, knowing that that is still on cooldown. Helps with the next team fight. Tapoon not having his flash as well can be important.
On the hunt, having to be burnt right there to try and follow on to Decoy out of situation. But does manage to disengage. And if you thought a GLP, or if you thought 2 GLPs were annoying, how about a Twin Shadows to add to that as well? A trophy coming on down. Maybe Mammoth showcasing what they want to achieve this season. I'm sure that's what they all want to achieve here.
A lot of mobility actually in the Gravitas side. Very hard to lock down someone like a LeBlanc. Very hard to lock down someone like a Pyke. And so these two people being on the side lanes here, Pabu and Hayri, make it very difficult for the pick of Mammoth to actually try and lock them down. However, the 3 is still quite catchable. Not the word I wanted to use, but it is the one that I have said.
And I'm going to go
They're
fully on
catchable.
board with it. Catchable is now a phrase we are going to force down the pipeline. Cloud Drake picked up here by Gravitas. Not the worst one for them to have, given that they want to try and roam and find these picks with these nimble champions. But there is some split pushing shenanigans going across. Pabu in the bot lane does have teleport should a fight take place near the top side of the map. Now keep an eye on that Baron counter up in 30 seconds.
Teleport's a really good point here because it is an advantage for Pabu. There isn't one available for the Nico, so Mammoth forcing like this. Oh no.
Ray doesn't manage to jump away and he pays the price with his life. King with red buff. King with the crown.
Yeah, you could see what he was trying to get done there, Raid. Get over the Raptor Pit wall, if possible, with his ultimate. But King distances himself, stays at range, so that it's not something that can be easily achieved. And there they go, the first kill. In the middle stages of this game at 20 minutes has gone over to Mammoth, and now the siege is on in mid lane.
Pabu looking creative. He will find the hook that was necessary. A lot of retaliation, however, from Gravitas. Not looking to give up this outer turret that easily.
Good flank from Top Moon as well. Hayri trading a whole lot of his health bar. Prayless, I don't think he'll be able to look for an engage anymore. Might just be a reset. This pressure in mid lane starts to really mount up and may start to actually crest over to a turret if they wanted. But it looks like Mammoth, they're going to go back again themselves. And, you know, like you mentioned, we hit 20 minutes, Baron available now. That could be where they start to put their attention.
And especially in situations like where when you are trying to force those structural impacts, I feel like a big talking point would have to be the sustain element. I mean, we're not really looking at many heroes that can sustain themselves at this stage. Lifesteal really isn't on board so far for both these AD carries. Yes, Morgana and Trundle can sustain themselves in a way, and rightfully so can Pyke, but in a situation where you're at the tower, yeah, he's going to always look for those flanking angles to try and top himself up, but then try and set things up for this all-in Gravitas comp.
And I really don't think one team gets hard outscaled by the other at all. There is still the 1-3-1 available for both teams if they really want to force that one, but Morgana into LeBlanc is kind of null and void. And I'm actually not too sure who outright wins a 1v1 between a Pyke and a Nico as the game progresses. I think they both just want to clear waves and move. And so it's all for me about the vision and how they're able to move between those side lanes and the point of focus, whether it's Baron, whether it's mid lane. Right now, Praylist on the wrong side of the rift.
Extremely deep right now. The entire Mammoth squad knocking on his door and saying, what are you doing here? This is our swamp. Do get out. The binding's so close. And the pizza chucked across the wall. We love carbs, but I tell you what, he dodged that one. He's dieting.
Pabu's swerving on them carbs. He doesn't want him. Baron now started by Mammoth. Prayless dead. He was so far onto the wrong side of the map, and they try and turn to fight. And it looks like Gravitas, they want to contest this. They don't want to let Baron go for free.
Now, there is no ultimate available for Destiny, so we're looking all about Triple and Babip to try and make something happen. Not to mention Tapoon, with the ability to knock members up. They do decide that, hey, with what we have, our current configuration, not going to be the ideal setup that we need.
Yeah, honestly not the tankiest team, Mammoth. You know, if Gravitas choose to hit Baron, they can put the Sejuani in front. They can plant him to tank the Baron up, and if they want to disengage, they can. But you could see there with Mammoth, they tanked it for a little bit. They were chunked pretty low, honestly, and they choose to disengage because the pressure is a legitimate factor with Gravitas. Not even with their jungler up, are still scary enough. It means they want kills, ideally, before they even consider the Baron, and more than one is clearly the case here, as they just had one and they couldn't do it.
Still an incredibly close game, despite the gold deficit being 3k in favor of Mammoth and the kill counter showing 10-4, but a lot of that would have to come down to the two members with bounties, most notably King Sivir.
Here we go again.
Round 2, on towards the Baron. Gravitas completely in the dark, only going to sort of show face right now as the Baron is down
It's
to
low.
half. GLPs are being used, Twin Shadows as well. Destiny jumps on in, finds the hook, gets knock up, gets the damage. Nico jumps into the back line as well to try and make some chaos happen, and chaos was delivered as a double kill was picked up. Babip on the hunt, trying to deny any sneaky plays with that smite from Prayless.
This is still so dicey. Mammoth don't have tanks in the pit right now. Junglers are 1v1ing each other. Outside of it, a Raid gets the first kill on the top end. Mammoth, this is dangerous.
Raid is being donated kill opportunities right here. The Baron is down to 2,400, getting lower. Prelus jumps in, he flashes, he's down. No smite, no deny, no chance. Sivir picks it up and they chase on through. Can they find the kill? He runs the wrong way. A sketchy moment for Mammoth, but they do deliver.
And I feel like this is where Babbitt will look at his AD carry and say, thank you so much, because I just smited the Sejuani while we were having a battle in the pit. So thankfully, King's able to lock that one down. Mammoth, they'll get themselves the Baron 6-0 and 6. Now in a little bit of trouble, but we'll see. He's killing him.
King. Oh, hairy. Well, that was a hairy situation. Destiny may be able to come into this one, though. Does put a pink ward down. Nico jumps into the back line. They're going to fire it onto Decoy, who does get the knockup, buying himself a little bit of time, preventing the rest of the team from being clapped upon. GLP and Shadows are out, but Pavu is just so nimble. Beauty, that ulti.
Rayless hunting. Doesn't get slowed either. He's still looking, but Pabu has to hit a hook if they want any chance.
Jukes it out. Challenges players, they don't juke. That's what I was told. That was a juke.
Pabu's got, Pike, I should say, not Pabu, has a very particular type of interaction with him. Usually you don't juke, but he winds up. There's a lot of mind games. Got a Blitzcrank hook. And unfortunately, Pabu's not able to find it, so Gravitas not getting what they're after, and that does mean that Baron still on most members of Mammoth and very strong, able to group up once again with that buff around the middle lane if they choose, and try and break some structures. With the GLPs that they have, with the twin ghosts that they've got, 2 of them as well, a piece between mid and top laners. It's just so difficult to try and, like, imagine defending a turret when there is a Nautilus standing in front of you, a Morgana standing in front of you, and a Nico, and you are slowed by Glacial Augment from these spells. It's just clearing waves, really hard.
Runes are slowing you, activatable items are slowing you, and then you've got Trundle to jump into the fray of it and say, you're not moving. And it does mean that despite not being the tankiest comp, they definitely have a lot of crowd control or setup potential to prevent Gravitas being creative and getting aggressive like you mentioned during the draft.
Probably clearly showing that he's got the capabilities on this Pike, you know, to potentially go off, but a lot of the reliance here is on what will your opponents do against you, because you can only do so much to execute in an X-shaped area and hit the mark. They've Nautilus ulted him. No, it got cancelled.
Did actually get cancelled. That was onto Pabu, but it does not do much at all. Triple jumping in, very, very deep. Decoy putting up the shield and blocking a lot of what would have been casualties for sure, as King gets aggressive with the shield, with the protection, with the team in support, doing whatever they can, looking for Decoy. The trophy and the knockup from Nico is all that they need to make this a 4v5. They want more. There's the knockup from Nautilus. Can they get the second kill? Yes, they can. That is the double, looking for the triple, but they do have Nico to pick things up, and an inhibitor is the grand prize.
It should just be game over here, still hunting for the kills. Mammoth, they get another one. Raid desperate to go in, but he's just going to die, and it looks like Mammoth have got it.
That they do indeed. It was a bit of a slow game to start off with, but after that Baron call, things exploded on the Rift as Mammoth convincingly 10k gold lead, 20 kills to 6. They showcase what they can do on the Rift. And yesterday, well, if anything against Chiefs was a bit of an upset, this was a much more comfortable performance from them.
And this is just much better when you look at Split 1 compared to Split 2. Mammoth, they were notorious for losing on the Fridays and winning on the Saturdays. They started to find some really rough weeks in there, some rough patches, but to start the season off 2-0, absolutely the way that they want to be doing it for themselves. Look at their opponents, Gravitas. Very unfortunate week for them as the end result, of course, being 0-2.
Yeah.
But this game from Mammoth, they played slower, they played more methodical, they tried to play, you know, with a composition in mind as well, and they played to that composition from start to finish in the game, and it just felt generally like mostly like a clean game.
It felt like it had many variable power spikes. You get the GLPs online, cool, now we can engage, cool, now we got the double twin shadows online. That's a second layer of you cannot touch us.
Yeah.
And it just slowly felt like the control was ever more being in their grasp. And the wombo combo, or the sort of these heroes on the side of Gravitas will just never reach that power spot that they need to say, you're deleted, it's a 4v5, now we just automatically win the team fight.
Yeah, and something we spoke about in the draft as well is ease of execution. I think that the composition that Mammoth had was very easy to execute, especially when they get Baron, especially when they get those leads. So once they get the Baron buff, it did really feel like the game just ends almost immediately. They post up in a lane, and it's just as simple as throw the spells at your opponents till one connects. And thankfully, even extra for them is how well King was playing.
Oh, absolutely.
He just one-hit people almost by himself. Didn't even need the rest of the comp to set him up.
It was a shaky game for him at the start yesterday, but by the end of it, he performed really well, and he's carried on through. The momentum is there going into day number 2, but I'm sure the boys on the desk, on the couch, that's what I meant to say, in the seats,
Hey,
they want to talk about some stuff.
We do. The momentum is here as well. A great start to the split for Mammoth
Yeah.
with these wins.
Yeah, certainly is the case. Definitely came out last split. Like this is the storyline, right? Last split, rocky start. This split, rocky game versus Chiefs. Got a victory there, but this one was much more convincing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big thing here is like the 2-0 week to open up the season is exactly what they're looking for. The fact that there was one close game probably was good for the team because it will test some of that metal, especially with Fudge in the lineup. But this was a much more convincing win. I mean, from top to bottom, there were moments where every single one of these players had, outplays over their opponents in the Gravitas lineup. And I think that compositionally, it just made a lot more sense to be able to run with what Mammoth had as well. So really impressive.
Yeah, I think the cast hit on a lot of very key points. The Mammoth's comp was much easier to play, right? And then you literally start with a straight up read on their level 1. Gravitas, they face check topside. Praelis, unfortunately, Sejuani gets hit with Mega CC. He dies. The bottom lane of King and Destiny are already up there, and the top side of the map is really where they wanted to be playing through. You did see at times that game, there was that mid fight underneath Gravitas' outer mid turret. That was a flash. I think it was Destiny's flash away from Pabu cleaning up on the pike, and that could have been a big swing point, but didn't eventuate though. They hit on it. You need to flash that button. That's exactly what happened. And other than that, it really kind of just turned out to be a very long landslide.
Yeah, because when you have a look at it as well, one of my major criticisms of Mammoth was they just didn't really do anything in the early games and then expected to be able to outplay you in mid games. And a lot of the time it was from deficits. Whereas this game, they're diving bottom lane turret. They're using their TP. They're trading objectives really in a way that they just always had tempo on the map. Even if, like Rusty said, don't necessarily want to be trading if you're ahead. Taking the full turret, making them have to use Rift Herald top lane against a comp where you probably really want to be using it mid lane to open up the map. If you Gravitas, I think there was a lot of things that, as a Mammoth coach, you would be really happy with how they played out this early game. Still not flawless, obviously still things to work towards, but like actually really, really solid play out of them and good proactivity shown, which, I was stoked about.
It would be interesting to see what happened in the offseason to get Mammoth to find this gelling that, sometimes was lacking last split. We'll be back after this short break.
Potential that Mammoth have as they once again are hunting.
They really are. As they find Decoy, flashes having to be used. He jumps away, he knocks them up, and Tapoon jumps in. It gets the stopwatch as well, but only buying some time for the rest of the team to get clapped onto as well. Pyke does find one. Tapoon jumps up into the air. Can Pyke find these resets? Remember, he is not untouchable whilst he's in that air, and the GLPs are coming across. It's a rainy storm. Let it go, let it go. I am not singing for you right now on the OPL, but I will tell you that Mammoth are feeling quite content with how that all worked out.
Or Pabu.
Might not be done just yet, however, and Pabu jumps in. Got a bit aggressive, right? Raid is being donated, kill opportunities right here. The Baron is down to 2,400, getting lower. Praelis jumps in, he flashes, he's down. No smite, no deny, no chance. Sivir picks it up, and they chase on through. Can they find the kill? He runs the wrong.
Now in a little bit of trouble, but we'll see. He's killing him.
King. Oh. Hairy. Well, that was a hairy situation. Destiny may be able to come into this one, though. Does put a pink ward down. Nico jumps to the back line. They're going to find it onto Decoy, who does get the knock-up, buying himself a little bit of casualties for sure, as King gets aggressive with the shield, with the protection, with the team in support, doing whatever they can, looking for Decoy. The trophy and the knock-up from Nico is all that they need to make this a 45. They want more. There's the knock-up from Nautilus. Can they get the second kill? Yes, they can. That is the double, looking for the triple. But they do have Nico.
Another one, Raid desperate to go in, but he's just going to die, and it looks like Mammoth have got it.
That they do indeed. It was a bit of a slow game to start off with, but after that Baron call, things exploded on the Rift as Mammoth convincingly 10k gold lead, 20 kills to 6. They showcase what they can do on the Rift. And yesterday, well,
At Macca's, our burgers are now hotter, juicier, and tastier, with onions added at the grill for more flavour, perfectly melted cheese, and softer buns. They're the best Macca's burgers ever.
Why don't we have those burgers?
Why don't we have those burgers?
Why don't we have those